All across the great state of Iowa, it is the Simon Conway Show, and the BBC, that's how you have to say it, JD, okay? You want to try?
BBC.
There you go, that's pretty good.
Cool.
Yeah, the BBC. They were telling me that they're very, very worried that we're going to be 1.5 degrees Celsius warmer than we were in 1850 at some point later in the year. 1850. I'm pretty sure we were pooping in the woods in 1850, but we're going to rely on their temperature taking. That's okay. Joining us to talk about all of this is our friend Steve Goreham. He's the Executive Director of the Climate Science Coalition of America. He's the author of 3 books on energy, climate, sustainable development, and his new book, Green Breakdown, The Coming Renewable Energy Failure, is going to be out August 1. Steve, welcome back. How are you, my friend?
Hey, Simon. Great to join you again. Hope you're staying cool out there in Iowa.
No, so far, so good, yes. We are. It's not too bad.
Yeah, we got the BBC and all kinds of scientists telling us that 1.5 degrees Celsius of global warming is going to be a catastrophe.
Yes.
The proper response to that is, who cares? I mean, really, it is the case. My wife and I bought a home in Virginia Beach to be close to kids and grandkids. We split our time Chicago, Virginia Beach.
Mm-hmm.
The average temperature in Chicago is about 9.9 degrees Celsius. Average year-round, probably about the same in Des Moines, maybe a little bit different there. But down in Virginia Beach, my gosh, it's 15.6 degrees. It's 6 degrees Celsius warmer on average than Chicago. So, wow, people must just be dropping dead in the streets down there. And can you imagine Miami? Miami, 25 degrees Celsius average.
Yeah. And how's St. Pete and Clearwater, where my daughter lives and my newest grandson lives?
Yeah, well, it is remarkable. We had, just a couple years ago, 74 U.S. medical and health organizations signed a U.S. call to action on climate when they said, quote, climate change is one of the greatest threats to health America has ever faced.
Yep.
It's a true public health emergency. And one of the things they said is, these warmer temperatures are bad. But, you start scratching your head a little bit. And so the question for your audience, which is more hazardous to health, cold temperatures or hot temperatures?
Definitely cold.
Absolutely. Our flu season is from something like October to March. In the Southern Hemisphere, it's during their winter months. And I've checked many nations on COVID cases, and every nation I've checked always has more cases during the winter than the summer. As a matter of fact, a guy by the name of Feligas did a study about a decade ago, and he found for every nation, he studied about 10 different nations, he found more deaths in the winter than in the summer.
I'm really tempted to go, duh.
I know, it's amazing. And the fact is, if we have a little warming, we will have probably 1 million less deaths a year at some point here. And, oh, by the way, doesn't everybody retire to Saskatchewan and Alaska and North Dakota, right? Don't they know warm climates are dangerous for us?
No, we don't know that. We're completely in the dark. But they're saying that this will be a 1.5 degrees Celsius increase from 1850.
Yeah.
We're supposed to rely on temperature taking in 1850?
Yeah, actually, I tend to use the 1880 number because that's the first time they actually had thermometers. But we've risen.
Come on, you're arguing with the BBC now. I mean, come on.
We've risen 1.2 degrees Celsius since 1880 in 140 years. We've already risen 1.2 of that 1.5. And another 0.3 isn't going to do a whole lot.
Okay.
I mean, it is just remarkable. It's climatism. It's, as a matter of fact,
it's a religion.
A couple presidential candidates are now using that term, but that's what it is. It's an ideology, and it's meant to scare people.
Yep.
And meant to perpetuate the myth that humans are causing dangerous climate change. And as a result, we all have to give up our gas stoves. We have to give up our gasoline cars.
Yep.
All over the place, and I don't know if people need to do that. I don't think that's the best course of action.
No, I don't either. Let's talk about something else that's really a hot topic here in Iowa: carbon capture pipelines.
Oh yes. Yes, I hear there's a big battle going on out there.
Well, there is, because a lot of farmers are like, yeah, I don't want it on my land, and now they're threatening to use eminent domain to force them.
Yeah, the biofuel companies can get big dollars from the federal government now if they send some of the CO2 off for capture, or capture it and send it off to North Dakota. So they want to build pipelines. And they're saying, but I think the courts are kind of pushing back, aren't they? I think that maybe the locals are going to win this one against the people that want to do carbon capture and storage.
Well, I sure hope so. The thing that the last court case that was won, is being appealed, obviously, said that if you want to survey somebody's land, you need their permission to get on the land. And the carbon capture pipeline people are like, no. So anyway, there was a lawsuit, and the people who said, yeah, get off my land, won. And now the carbon capture people, because there is billions of dollars at stake here in taxpayer dollars, obviously, Green New Deal dollars, that's where we're at. So they're appealing that, and we'll see where it goes. But I'm with you. Look, I would probably take the check from these people if I had the land and they were offering me a check. But if you're my neighbor, Steve, and you don't want that under your land, then I do not believe there is any law that should force you to have it.
Well, there are some risks too. They have to liquefy and pressurize this carbon dioxide, and to get it, any volumes to go through the pipelines. And there have been incidents where these pipelines have ruptured and have harmed citizens too. They tend to, the CO2 is released. It tends to get too high in the air, and people can't really breathe. So there are some health issues with this stuff. This is one of the craziest things humans have ever tried to do. There is really no product value for all this carbon dioxide. It's only supported by government. There's about 30 of these plants around the world that capture 0.1% of human emissions. And again, human emissions are only about 5% of what nature puts up into the atmosphere every day. The only reason... Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, we need carbon. I mean, we've got an increasing world population. If we're going to feed them, we need stuff to grow. The thing that makes the stuff grow is carbon.
Carbon dioxide. Well, you even want to use the term carbon dioxide because they are two totally different substances.
Yep.
When people think of carbon, they think about pencil lead or soot or something,
Mm-hmm.
but carbon dioxide is an odorless, colorless gas, harmless gas. We inhale only 4 molecules in every 10,000 when we breathe in the air, but we burn sugars in our body, so every time we exhale a concentration that is 100 times what we breathed in. And it's one of the 3 substances with oxygen and water and carbon dioxide. Those are the things that make life possible. And as I like to ask audiences when I present, what do cannabis growers know that the climate scientists don't know? And the answer is carbon dioxide is plant food.
Yep.
Every marijuana grower with his or her salt is pumping carbon dioxide into the greenhouse to make their crop grow bigger and faster. So it really is just one of the craziest things in the world to call carbon dioxide dirty, to call it a pollutant. Those things show really a high school age understanding of chemistry and carbon dioxide.
Right, but this is, excuse me, this is now about the religion, Steve. Right? Is the religion of climatology?
Well, at least it's an ideology. Almost $1 trillion a year are being spent on renewables now, and those scientists who say, that we can forestall that 1.5 degree C rise if we all drive electric cars and build wind turbines and change our light bulbs. I mean, that is the closest thing to superstition that you can imagine. Anybody who thinks you can stop the oceans from rising by doing these things, oceans have been rising, by the way, for 20,000 years, according to NASA. So this stuff, it's just beyond comprehension. It is going to break down. I predict in the next couple decades that we're going to see people step away from this theory. Net zero is going to become a hated term. And in the future, we're going to have youths out there tearing down wind turbine towers like today they want to tear down dams. So we'll see if all that comes to pass.
Well, it's something that we obviously here in Iowa. They're very fond of wind energy here in Iowa. I just think they're ugly.
Well, they're okay, but again, they're not inexpensive. If you look at the top 12 wind states in the United States, of which Iowa is number 2, you find that 8 of those 12 have electricity prices over the last decade that have been increasing faster than the national average. Iowa, for example, a national average from 2008 to 2022, our electricity prices rose 27%. Iowa, it's about 37%. So not too bad, but rising faster than the national average. California's gone up more than 70%.
Well, I always like to remind you that the then Chief Executive Officer of Mid-American Energy, and I always preface this by saying I would have done exactly the same thing, announced a $3 billion investment in Iowa, which I believe was the biggest investment ever. The next day, he was in my studio, and we found out that it wasn't really Mid-American's investment.
Where'd you get $3.6 billion from?
Well,
how much of it's our money?
Well, by ours, if you're referring to the U.S. taxpayer, pretty much all of it.
There you go. Bill Furman, the then CEO of Mid-American Energy.
And they get a federal investment tax credit. And they get production tax credits of like 2.3 cents an hour, and then Iowa pays an additional tax credit at a state level. It used to be 2 cents a kilowatt hour. I'm not sure what it is now.
But he'd be an idiot. He'd be an idiot not to take that money. I repeat, I don't blame him.
4 cents a kilowatt hour, and that's what the wholesale price is. So
I don't blame him for a second.
Absolutely. Tax credits are paying the entire price of the investment, basically.
Steve, we're out of time. It's always a pleasure having you on. We love having Steve on. And, Steve, you have so many credits. I always like to let you decide which one we're going to end with.
Well, new book coming, Green Breakdown, talks about how we're going to have blackouts, we're going to have rising prices, we're going to have a lot of things, and we're not going to get anywhere close to 50% net zero. So
there you go. Thank you, Steve. Appreciate it. We are out of time, and we'll check out that book, and we'll have you back as we always do. Be safe, be well.